I decided to make a little video about my top surgery experience for two reasons. One, for me to remember how it was like, and two, I've had somewhat of a different experience. Like, I got a different surgery than what I hear most people talk about. It's mostly the same, and there's like one major difference that I never heard about before. So I was like, well, maybe if I haven't heard about it, other people haven't heard about it, and maybe this is important for someone to know before they make their decision. So that's my reasons. I made a horribly disgusting smoothie to accompany me with this making of this video, so let's get into it. The first thing I wanted to talk about is, aside from the fact that I never thought I would actually be able to get top surgery before moving to New York, and even 2 years into moving to New York or having been here, I am from Russia, and I always thought that you need to jump through like a million hoops and have like some kind of very inhumane, degrading, some diagnosis or something to even qualify for any kind of surgery like that, because Russia is so backwards in their care for queer people, and now it's like all off the table altogether, it seems. So just growing up, even though I was interested in it since I was maybe like 16, 17 years old, and I was binding since I was like 14, ever since I found out that it was a possibility, I was kind of like, well, for others, but probably not for me. And so I kind of went through my life like that, and I have a lot of chest dysphoria, but I pushed it down, and I kind of got through every day being like, okay, that's just what it is. And I'm just not gonna look at my body much at all. And I moved to New York, and as you know from my testosterone journey, like that was also like not something I thought that was possible, and then it became possible, and it was absolutely amazing and life-changing. And then I kind of still thought that surgery was off the table, because I saw a lot of people do Kickstarters and or have like just a lot of savings, I guess, for people who did seem to get top surgery. So I still was thinking that, that's not something I can afford to do, because I don't really have any savings, and I didn't have health insurance for a long time, for about 3 years since I moved to the US, because I've worked part-time, and then I worked in a place that doesn't offer health insurance, and somehow I thought it was like really hard to get on your own. It's not that hard. I eventually got it on my own. And so with immigration and COVID and our breakup with Aaron and other things and moves and different jobs, it was just like not ever seemed like a good time to actually focus on getting top surgery until I started being a patient at Callan Lord. So for those who don't know, Callan Lord is a queer clinic here in New York. I wasn't sure, because American insurances and health insurances are so difficult for me to understand and grasp, and like, I don't know, that I was like, oh, they're not gonna take my insurance at Callan Lord. But I still went there because I really wanted to be a patient with them, because I've never had the experience of like medical professionals being understanding and accepting of like my identity and actually validating it in a way. And I always dreaded going to the doctors for that reason, like being misgendered, being misunderstood. Like when I tried talking to a PCP at NYU Langone, which is just a normal hospital place where I went first when I got my health insurance, and I talked about like, getting my testosterone, through her instead of through like a paid subscription like Plume or get like Folks or whatever. She said, oh, and then it was like an old Polish lady, and she said, oh, I think there's like a center for that kind of stuff somewhere. So that's like the basic like queer, non-queer healthcare that I've always gotten was, and I never had the opportunity to like be with someone who would be like, yeah, I know what trans means, and I know about like different nuances of like the queer experience. So I really wanted to be a patient with them, and then I went and I talked to this really cool doctor, and just so you know, Callan Lord has very different reviews. Some people absolutely hate it and had a very bad experience with them, and some people love it. And so I feel like any hospital, like if you had good care, then you were like, yay, I'm so happy, thank you so much. And if you had bad care, or you were on like the wait list for like a million years, or on the phone for like 5 days, then you're probably gonna be like, fuck this place. So I went there and I had a great experience. I had this very, very sweet doctor who uses she, they pronouns, who was like, totally got my pronouns, totally got my identity, totally validated the things I was talking about. And eventually said something along the lines of like, after they prescribed me testosterone, and they were like, no problem at all. And I was like, oh my God, what are you doing my life? Eventually they said, is there anything else you wanted to talk to me about? And I said, well, I mean, like timidly, I was like, I have always wanted top surgery, but I just don't think it's in the cards for me. So I don't know, I'm just like throwing it out there, like just something that I would have wanted. And they said, okay, well, there's a there's a page on our website that has some surgeons that you could look at and get consultations with. And I was like, oh no, none of them take my insurance. It's like so like low key, and you know, it's not an expensive insurance, so none of them would want to take it. And they said, no, I think some of them do take your insurance specifically. And I was like, what? And then what I didn't understand is that my insurance was under another, like a big umbrella insurance, and some of them did take it. And I was like, my mind was blown, but I had no idea about any of this. Sorry, I just got a text. This is nasty, by the way. So eventually I looked into more, you know, I focused into looking into the surgeon, and bear in mind, not right away as well, because life gets in the way. I came back from Callan Lord that day and I was like, wow, this is a lot. And I postponed getting consultations for months. You know, that's just like how life works. And I'm sure I was thinking about something else. I don't even remember. But eventually I did reach out months later to a surgeon, and I booked a consultation, and my copay was $50 or something along those lines. And I was very excited. I was like, wow, this is the first step towards top surgery, and whether they take my insurance or not, like at least I get these consultations for $50. And I went there, and she was the surgeon is like highly kind of thought of, and she used to be under like a surgeon who's even more well known for top surgeries, and so she's kind of like an apprentice of sorts, so she knows the same techniques, and her results on like Reddit were quite good. And you know, I was quite excited to see her. Waited a long time in the waiting room, waited a long time in the little room where they put you after they check your vitals. They took some pictures of me pre-op, which I guess is something to be prepared for if you go for a consultation. And then eventually the surgeon did come in, and she talked to me about the surgeries. She does them quite often. And she mentioned, she did talk me through what I qualify and don't qualify for. And I left that consultation a little bit in a weird mood. I wasn't elated. I wasn't like, yeah, let me sign up right now. I was kind of like, I was feeling a little off. I was a little bit, maybe a little disappointed after that consultation, because the thing that she told me, and I knew most of it, right? I read so much Reddit. I like spent so long reading our top surgery, our FTM, just like what people's experiences were, what I should be expecting. But the one thing that she said that I was kind of like confused by, she said, you know, you qualify for double incision with free nipple grafts. This is like the go-to for most people whose chest isn't just like super, super small. You could do keyhole just for people who have a super, super small chest. Who's this? And you don't qualify for her, she said, but I could do it on you and you'll need a revision about a year from then, and so your results will be kind of weird with like lots of loose skin, not lots, but like some loose skin, and then you'll get a revision and then it might look good. The benefits of getting peri or keyhole is that you don't have the two big double incision scars, right? So you are like more cispassing if that is something you want. That is not something I was very concerned about. You know, I'm not like a trans man. I'm just like non-binary, so I'm like, I don't mind a scar. I'm not trying to like pass as a cis guy. So yeah, I knew that kind of was what she's gonna say, but then she said, and in terms of sensation, forget about it. Like, expect zero sensation. And I'm not talking just nipples, right? The surgery affects your whole chest area, right? So they cut you two parts, and then they scoop out all the tissue, and then they sew you back together. And in the beginning, they take off your nipples, and then they put the nipples back on, right? That's the surgery. So during that mastectomy part of the surgery, when they scoop out all the tissue, they sever all of the nerves, right, by accident. Well, not by accident, but just that's part of the thing that happens, because they're not really finding the nerves or going around the nerves or something. The nerves go through that tissue, and so they get severed. But what I read about it on Reddit is that a lot of people get some level of sensation back over time. So nerves regrow at like 1 millimeter a day or something like that. And eventually, after some time, people report back to Reddit that they've gotten some sensation here, some sensation here, maybe like pain sensation or warmth sensation, or some people even mentioned erogenous sensation. But what she said was, forget about it. Expect zero sensation. So that's the main reason why I left that consultation being kind of like, And she said, you know, like, I'm scheduling people about 13 months from now. Like, she's pretty booked out. And actually I waited to only see her. I thought that consultation would be enough for me. And I waited quite a while because, as I found out on Reddit, she was pregnant. So there was like a period of time that she was taking off as parental leave. So I waited this long for this consultation, and then I left it kind of like, and I thought, and I sat with it for a while, until I went to Callan Lord again for my normal checkup with my PCP, primary care physician. And my primary care physician said, well, you shouldn't only go for one consultation. You should see at least 2 or even 3 surgeons if you can, if you like can't afford the copay for the consultation, to really see what other people have to say. And I was like, wow, okay. I didn't think they would say like different things. And they were like, no, sometimes they do. And actually, like, have you heard of this surgeon? Because this surgeon specializes in nerve preservation surgeries. And I was like, what's that? And they said, well, I'm not quite sure, but if you go for a consultation, I'll let you know. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. So I scheduled another consultation with a different doctor. Again, my copay was something like $50, or I don't remember if it was like 25 or 50. And I went in, and the difference in this doctor, although she was not mentioned anywhere on Reddit at all, which, you know, my main source of information for this was Reddit, because she doesn't do that many top surgeries. She mostly works with people with cancer and does mastectomies for that. She does do some top surgeries, and the thing about her is that she is a nerve specialist. So she's a plastic surgeon, nerve specialist. And what she does is, she explained, is that she saves the nerves or locates them during the surgery. cuts them a little shorter, and then reconnects them back to the chest wall or wherever, the skin, which is entirely different from what the other surgeon does, right? And most top surgery surgeons do. And which is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it at all, because I never heard of this. And I was like shocked. And I was like, so what about sensation in this scenario where you have nerve grafts? And she said, yeah, most of my patients regain at least like baseline of what they used to have sensation wise by between like 3 months to a year. That's very, and I was like, well, coming from a place where someone said zero sensation, forget about it, I was like, this sounds much better. Like, what's the catch? And I was ready to schedule a surgery after that consultation, just because it was very affirming and sensation was a thing that I was interested in. And just to make sure that everyone's like on the same page, it's not about like specifically nipple sensation. Like erogenous sensation is kind of like weird and hard to place. Like, what makes the nipple so special? So she was like, I don't have like enough data on that, but normal kinds of sensation, like feeling pressure, feeling hot and cold, feeling light touch, feeling pain, feeling sharp and dull, those kinds of sensations, she has seen back for like 90% of her patients. Sometimes people have like spots where there's like little bits of sensations lacking, and nerves have like a very weird mystical way of working. And the reason for that is that even though she has those nerve grafts that she's working with and reconnecting them back to your chest, it's kind of hard to place them exactly where they used to be, because they're nerves, they're like tiny. I don't even know how small or what size they are. Like in my brain, the nerve is like a completely theoretical thing. I'm like baffled that you can take a nerve and cut it shorter. I'm like baffled. Smooth brain up here. That conversation alone, in comparison to the previous consultation, which is why I thought it was so important to have had at least 2 consultation appointments, just swayed me to go with this surgeon. It was a longer surgery because she was going to work with nerves, and she had less experiences with top surgery. So when they showed me some examples at the office that they've done, I was like, I mean, you know, it's really hard to look at top surgery results on completely different people from yourself and be like, yeah, this is great. Like they're their own people. Like they have different bodies, they have different skin elasticity from you, they have different desires for scars, they have different nipple shapes. Like it is so hard to say like, oh, this is a great result and this is like not what I want at all. I think overall both of those surgeons had clean, healthy looking results. All of that to say, I went with this surgeon, they took my pictures, and after the consultation I went to the admin and she scheduled me. She was ready to schedule me right away because I brought 2 letters with me. I brought 1 letter from my primary care physician confirming my diagnosis of gender dysphoria, and they just wrote it at Cal and Lord for free. And then I also got a letter from a therapist, and I'm not currently in therapy, which makes me very sad, and I would like to be in therapy. But I went to like an outside, kind of like outpatient or whatever it's called, just like a therapist who was referred to me by someone who used to be my therapist, and I paid $80 to get a referral letter confirming gender dysphoria diagnosis. So because I brought those 2 letters with me, they were ready to schedule me right away. And hear this. The previous surgeon, right, the one that was like zero sensation, said, I'm scheduling people for 13 months from now, so a little over a year. This surgeon, because she wasn't on Reddit and she wasn't as popular, was ready to schedule me in 2 months, even less than 2 months, I think. which is unheard of, I think. That's from what I understand. Like, I went there in November. They were like, how does January 2nd work for you? I was like, that's too fast. Like, that is too soon for me, actually. So I had to ask for a later date with them because I also wanted to help at work a lot, and I knew I would be like immobilized basically after surgery for like a few weeks. So I asked, you know, if they had something in the end of January, and they did, and so they scheduled me for January 24th. This is going to be the end of part 1 of my top surgery journey, because I'm tired of talking. I've been talking for too long, and I'll see you in the next video, and I'll talk about preparation for surgery, the actual day of surgery, and then a few first days and weeks after surgery, and where I'm at now, and I'll probably show my results, but not today.